Quand tu dis que tu préférais t'en aller, est-ce que le jour où ton père est mort, c'est ce qui s'est passé?
Non, pas du tout. Là, je voulais juste aller me promener.
Ok. Tu m'as dit que t'avais entendu tes parents au moment où t'es sorti de la maison, c'est ça? Tu te souviens du genre de conversation qu'ils avaient?
Oui, à peu près. C'était pas une dispute.
For me, the description winner of the Palme d'Or is a bit of a mixed blessing. Prestigious, certainly, but not necessarily a guarantee of a great night at the movies. For every personal favourites like I, Daniel Blake and Shoplifters, there's an equal number of pretentious rotters like The Square and Titan, which you may remember was essentially Transformers as directed by Jean-Luc Godard. Fortunately, this year's Anatomy of a Fall, directed by Justine Triet, is one of the good ones. It was also picked to open this year's International Film Festival. At 2.5 hours, it was a bit of a challenge for an audience looking forward to the subsequent festival party, but it was a challenge triumphantly accepted.
Tu m'as dit que t'avais entendu tes parents au moment où t'es sorti de la maison, c'est ça?
En fait, j'entendais pas vraiment les mots, j'avais que des bouts de voix, mais ça faisait...
Oui, mais bon, si t'avais pas les mots, du coup, tu peux pas savoir si c'était une dispute ou pas.
Enfin, je sais ce que j'ai entendu.
The film opens with novelist Sandra being interviewed at her home in the French Pyrenees. She's German, but while she speaks French, she feels more comfortable speaking English. The interview is curtailed when upstairs Sandra's neurotic husband starts playing music too loud. The journalist leaves, and so does Sandra and Samuel's 11-year-old son Daniel, who knows there's going to be a fight shortly. Daniel is sight-impaired, though he knows his way around the mountain chalet where the family live, and he's the one who discovers the body of his father after he fell from the top floor. The question being, did he fall or was he pushed?
Vous admettez qu'il était jaloux?
No, I don't know. No.
Allez, écoutez-vous, on a l'impression que vous l'avez trompé continuellement.
Quand il commence à se reprocher des trucs, moi je préfère m'en aller.
Tu peux pas me dire qui était le plus énervé des deux?
Non.
The police question Daniel, and the next step, of course, is a trial. If Daniel was out, the only other person in the house at the time was Sandra. Now, what happened? How did it happen? Why did it happen? And in the end, does it matter? The only thing that matters to Sandra's lawyer and friend Vincent is what can they prove?
So, as you know, the autopsy report is inconclusive about the cause of death.
Stop. I did not kill him.
That's not the point.
Most of the film is a courtroom drama, though a trial in France is rather different from what we're used to from American or English films. But even before we reach the courthouse, we're intrigued by the three key figures in Anatomy of a Fall, particularly Sandra herself, played by German star Sandra Hüller.
Il parle de tromperie.
I was honest about it.
Mais vous l'avez pas été l'année de sa mort avec cette fille avec qui vous l'avez trompé, pourquoi? Il y a quand même quelque chose d'un peu étrange dans cette situation.
Sandra Hüller, you may remember, played the put-upon daughter in the Oscar-nominated Toni Erdmann. Here, she's very much in control. For a start, she insists on testifying in English.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry. But, I don't know, you come here, okay, with maybe your opinion, and you tell me who Samuel was and what we were going through.
Less prickly and more likeable is Vincent, whose support for Sandra lends her a warmth she certainly doesn't show with her husband. And finally, there's the son Daniel, a blind, unreliable witness played brilliantly by young Milo Machado Grane.
Moi, ça va.
Ça va? Oui. Ok. On reprend, tu m'as pas répondu. Quand tes parents se disputaient, comment ça se passait?
C'est-à-dire, enfin, j'ai pas vraiment de souvenir de dispute.
Almost suspiciously brilliantly at times, his shifting evidence as the film progresses is what the trial will depend on. If he's lying, is it to protect his mother or the reputation of his dead father? As the title suggests, Anatomy of a Fall is a meticulous investigation, as much about the marriage of Sandra and Samuel as it is about the few minutes leading up to the fatal fall.
But what you say is just, it is just a little part of the whole situation, you know. I mean, sometimes a couple is kind of a chaos.
Sandra Hüller's performance is fascinating. You're reminded of the sort of difficult women played by Kate Blanchett or Tilda Swinton. The heart of this one is she's a writer used to plundering her life and the life of her family as raw material for her novels.
Everybody is lost, no? And sometimes we fight together, and sometimes we fight alone, and sometimes we fight against each other. That happens.
Complicating matters, Sandra's success meant that Samuel found himself trapped in the role of house husband. He was mostly responsible for the upbringing of young Daniel. It was his idea to return to his French homeland to live. But what Samuel wanted to do was create his own novels.
Now, looking for a stranger who walks in, kills him while you were sleeping right above and Daniel was out for a walk is a shitty strategy. Samuel had no enemies.
Stop.
The aggressive prosecutor in the trial insists there was a violent fight, spurred by Samuel's professional jealousy and Sandra's selfish promiscuity. When Sandra denies this, the prosecutor produces an unexpected ace in the hole. Samuel had recorded many of their angry arguments.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire à quoi il fait référence quand il parle du pillage de son œuvre?
That's not true.
Vous aviez déjà frappé votre mari?
Non.
Non, jamais. C'est bien ce qui s'est passé.
Clearly, trials are conducted differently in France. Evidence seems to be produced without warning. The defendant may be grilled in the middle of another witness's testimony. The judge plays a far more active role throughout. But like all great courtroom dramas, the final verdict isn't necessarily the end of the story. The trial may be the anatomy of a fall, but it's also the analysis of a particular marriage between two real, flawed people.
It's possible that Samuel needed to see things the way you described them, but if I'd been seeing a therapist, he could stand here too and say very ugly things about Samuel, but would those things be true?
In a routine Hollywood film, likability is often the important thing in a romantic couple, but this is France. What counts in a French film is humanity. You don't necessarily have to like them. But as they say, tout comprendre, c'est tout pardonner. When you understand it all, you can forgive everything.
T'as pas pu les entendre s'ils parlaient calmement.
J'ai confondu.
T'as confondu.
I'm innocent, you know that, right?